Hi.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Pretty good. How about you?
Doing well. Doing well. I'm a little tired.
Yeah, same.
Okay. And then we're just waiting on one more. It's gonna be a new guy. His name's Brady. Man, it is early. I don't know. It's early for me.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I usually wake up at so my wife's a teacher, so she has
Oh,
to
okay.
get up super early, and I usually wake up really early and get a workout in, but I'm just tired tonight. I
Yeah.
mean, today. I there's something about it. Mm. Have you looked over any of the materials for the chapter?
Yeah, I did the what's it called? I did the lectures so
Okay.
far.
What do you think about the chapter?
I felt like I already have some like basic knowledge of it because like in high school, I forgot what class I took, but we kind of went over these entities and stuff like that. So I already kind of have like a little bit of knowledge, not as deep as knowledge that he wants us to know, but it's there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's good that you're like introduced to it. Let me
Yeah.
text the fellow just to make sure he got it. Um, okay. I'm waiting. While we wait for him to reply, do you like this revolving PowerPoint video? Like, do you see it? Like, I thought it was
Yeah,
pretty
I
cool.
see it. It's good.
I was like, dang. Okay, so apparently, like when you make PowerPoints, Microsoft added this thing. It's called like design ideas. Okay,
Oh,
and like based on what the slide has in it, it'll recommend like designs for each
oh,
slide. So instead of you having to like manually pick each theme, which is pretty cool.
that's nice.
Um, I'll give him a couple more minutes. Do you have any questions I can answer before we kind of get fully kicked off?
Um, Not so far. I think I feel like I kind of understand them. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'll have a question later, maybe.
Of course. I think this is one of the easier chapters.
Yeah, I felt like chapter 8 was really good. I did really good on that quiz. I was so surprised.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, well, that's good. It's not a surprise because you've been putting in the work.
Yeah.
Let me go back to my texts. See, now I'm like, okay, so when do I start? Because it's like I don't want to waste your
You
time,
don't want to start without him.
but I want to
Uh,
start without it. I'll give him like one more minute, and then
okay. I'm just gonna turn on my fan real quick. It's kind of hot in my room.
yeah, you're fine. Now I'm like, do I call him? I don't want to like bother him.
Um, if he doesn't answer like in a minute, then I think you would. Because I mean, like me, if I wasn't answering, it's because I'm probably asleep.
See,
So
that's
I
kind
would like to
of like
call.
maybe he forgot to like set his alarm.
Yeah, I had to put like 3 alarms to wake up.
See, like these are the things they don't teach you.
That's
Swim
true.
needed to put a chapter over this. Like, how do you figure out to navigate, you know, calling people? Like, I
Yeah,
don't, but
I would just. Yeah, I would call him because I would like appreciate a call because I would probably either he forgot or he's still asleep, and I if I got a call, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I forgot.
yeah, I'm gonna give him a call. I'm gonna do it. Okay, so he didn't answer, so we'll just roll with it then. And if
Okay.
later, I'll circle back when we're done. Okay, so business entities. I don't have like a sarcastic line for you to start today. I couldn't think of anything, but no, I thought I could come up with something. Okay, cool. Business entities. So there are 6 factors, okay, that you can kind of look at the different business entities and kind of figure out where they're strong, where they're weak. So that's ease of operations, desired life of business, personal liability, tax implications, how easy is it to sell, and ease of raising capital. Okay. So these are kind of things you want to assess both in your, your professional life, maybe your personal life for this exam, but definitely for your professional life if you ever decide to start your own business. Um, so there's 3 major types of business. Um, and these are like the very basic ones. Maybe I should have put 3 basic type of businesses, but I put major because that's what I felt like.
Yeah.
So the first one is a sole proprietorship. Okay. So it's the oldest and the simplest. There's not much going on here. The owner is the business, and the business is the owner. Okay. So taxes, the business itself does not pay taxes because the owner, everything it makes, it goes to the owner, and so he's going to pay income tax on it.
Right.
Okay. Now, it's going to be kind of weird if he has employees because then he would pay income tax. I mean, like he would pay payroll taxes. But for the point that Swim is trying to get here, the owner is going to pay income taxes, not the business. So I came up with some examples. I love food trucks. I would love to own a food truck one day. So food truck is an example of it. An HVAC company, a local plumber, they are all the business. They don't need some complex legal structure, or maybe they do. Maybe they should, depending on. We'll see in a second. We got some factors. I kind of bust them down. For some reason, the design slide on this one decided to put them at different, but whatever. So factors 4, uh, they're incredibly easy to operate. If you want to have a sole proprietorship outside of getting licensed in regs, you just say, congratulations, I have a business. Okay. You can be your own boss. Factors against, it's incredibly difficult to raise capital. Since you are the business, you are limited to what you yourself can raise. So whether that's loans or friends, from families. Now you could get capital from other people. Like they could theoretically could get like a stake in your sole proprietorship, but then that's really kind of becomes a partnership. Like you see, like it's really hard to stay a sole proprietorship without skirting the line of something else. And the owner is unlimited liability. So if the owner, messes someone's house up, they're not just liable for what they put into the business because they are the business. They themselves are completely liable. So you can take their dog, their house, their car, so it's very dangerous. You're playing with fire here. It's difficult to sell the business. Now, why do you think it's difficult to sell the business?
Um, I think it is difficult to sell the business because it's kind of like, in my opinion, I feel like if I was buying it, how do I know that this business is going to be okay after I start adding on people and it starts getting bigger? Because some businesses just do better in a small aspect compared to a bigger aspect. I mean, that's what I'm just thinking.
No, and I think that's 100% right. Like it's a variety of things. I think another
Right,
one is if you're just a one man shop
right,
and like I get that you're the business, but like what are you really? Like if you're a one man shop, are you if you were to sell your business, are you just selling the machines? Because you can't sell the brand really. Because like if
right.
you're the business and you're the brand, you can't sell that.
Yeah,
You can just sell the food truck or the tools used as a plumber. But I mean, maybe you sell the company name, but it's like it's hard to sell.
right,
So partnership. I like to think of this as 2 people that had a sole proprietorship and then it just merged together. Or it's just 2 sole people coming together. It's like a marriage. Okay. So
right.
the definition is defined by Keith Swim. And if you notice, I'm going to circle this. I'm just full of energy this morning. I typed a quote, but look, the colon is, I mean, the quotation marks are facing the wrong way. Do you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Annoying me. So, and I retyped it like 6 times, and PowerPoint didn't like it. So, the definition is given him by Professor Swim is 2 or more people carrying on a business for profit. That's it. The management of the partnership is a joint operation between owners. Does not require any formalities. It's really like a sole proprietorship, but then you have at least one more person. It's very basic. And like I just said, it functions like a sole proprietorship, but added owners. It's least favored business entity. Like at the point where you're making a partnership, you might as well just make something better. It may cost a little bit more money, but you're so much more protected. Partnership should have a detailed partnership agreement. Keith Swim, Professor Swim, wants to hammer this home. What should go into a partnership agreement? And on the side note, Microsoft PowerPoint actually recommended all of this. I didn't
Oh,
put images in. And if you read them, there it's actually appropriate for what is mentioned. Okay, I'm just impressed. So what should go into a partnership agreement? The relation of the partners. Is there like a boss? Is the second one like the second string? What are their responsibilities to each other? So is one, does one have to bring in the clients and the other one's more like product focused? How is money going to get split? If one partner put up 60% of the capital and one put up 40%, is it still 50-50 on profits? Other vital information, whose name is the cable bill registered in? And then how will the partnership be dissolved if it needs to be dissolved? And the factors are all the same for sole proprietorship in the way they're broken down, except here it's slightly easier to raise capital. One, because you could just bring another partner in, but two, two's better than one, and so maybe banks are more likely to give you loans if you have a second person, or each person could just take out their line of credit.
right.
Corporations. This is the third one. This is the biggest one here. So all corporations are created by state law. Delaware is the haven for corporations. It has very favorable corporations or corporate laws. So there are more sole proprietorships in America, but dollar for dollar, corporations make more money, which makes sense. The downside of corporations are they face double taxation. How do you feel about double taxation? Like, do you understand what it is?
The way I understand it is that the business gets taxed and you get taxed.
Yeah, that's it. So, let's say the business makes $1, okay?
Right.
And we'll just say there's one employee, like you are the corporation. So the business makes $1. So let's just say it pays like 30% tax on the dollar. So now you have 70 cents in profit.
Right.
Or an income. And then you get paid that same 70 cents because you get whatever the company gets in this hypothetical. And then you're going to pay 20% tax. So now you pay 14 cents in taxes. So then after the company was taxed and you were taxed, you then walk away with 56 cents. Okay. And that's my on the fly math. I hate doing math on the fly, but I just did it there. So hopefully that sticks. So a corporation is a separate legal entity. And what does that mean? That means it avoids the absolute or unlimited liability thing. It is its own thing. It has its own life. It has its own rights. It can give money to elections, but that is an incredibly important distinction. It is a separate legal entity, and definitely limited liability for shareholders. So factors for corporations, it's easiest to raise capital. You could issue stocks, you could issue bonds. And banks are more willing to do that because of the limited liability factor. They're incredibly easy. They're so much more easier to sell. Okay. And like I said, limited liability for owners. How do you feel about limited liability? I keep throwing that term around, but you feel okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Against, we just talked about double taxation. The formal requirements to start, it's the hardest of all three to start. Like there's regulations, there's tons of requirements. And then the length of duration is set by each state. So like you don't exactly know how long before you actually look at the state law, how long you can keep the corporation. So I have some questions. If James wishes to start a lemonade stand, what type of business should he start?
A sole proprietorship.
Okay. What does double taxation refer to? You've already answered that. What is the difference between unlimited liability and limited liability? Do you want to take a crack at that, or do you think you kind of answered that already?
Unlimited liability, the way I kind of understood it was like you're more at chance of getting like more chance of being liable for something, while limited liability, there's just a certain part that you can be liable for.
I think it's a little bit different than that. I mean, like,
Okay.
yes, that's true. But okay, so unlimited liability means in a sole proprietorship, you have unlimited liability. You are fully liable, which means you're liable for the mistakes of the business, all of them, okay?
Right.
But they don't just take however much assets. Let's just say you poured $30,000 into your sole proprietorship.
Okay.
They can't just go after that $30,000. They can go after all of your assets, even ones that are
Okay.
not owned by the business. Now, limited liability, they can only go after what you put in the company. So let's just say you made a corporation and you've invested, better example, you are a shareholder of Apple. You own $30,000 worth of Apple stock. Let's say Apple goes bankrupt. All
Right.
you lose is your $30,000 in stock. Even though you're a shareholder, you're just an average person with shares in Apple. Even though Apple's bankrupt and they own more debts, you don't have to pay the debts of Apple. All you were liable for was what you paid in that case, the stock.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Number 4, if Nicole wishes to start a startup social media business, what business entity would you encourage her to start?
Mm,
And there's multiple answers. I just want to hear an answer with a justification.
I'm between a corporation and a sole proprietorship, but I feel like I don't know why, but I feel like a corporation would probably be best
Yeah, and
because
that's kind of
the
what I
social
mean.
media business, and that's usually like a big thing that you know what? Never mind. Yeah, just a corporation because sooner or later she's gonna have to add on people, especially with the social media business.
And I think you're 100% right. Like I looked at the ability to grow and the
Uh-huh.
fact that she had limited liability. Let's just say this thing blew up and turned into the next Facebook or whatever.
Right.
She's going to be glad that she organized it. Now, maybe in actual reality, she would actually be an LLC or and then eventually a corporation.
Right.
But out of these three options, the important thing was you recognized you wanted the limited liability, you wanted easier to raise capital, and you wanted like the bigger approach. But you hit all the key points. So now there's some miscellaneous forms of business. Okay, so there's 4 of them. There's the limited partnership. There's a closely held corporations. There's S corporations and professional corporations. And as a side note, S corporations and professional corporations are forms or variations of a closely held corporation. Okay, so limited partnership is going to be the first one. So you have limited liability without double taxation. So traditional partnership, you have unlimited liability and you avoid double taxation. So here, you get the best of a corporation, which is the limited liability, and you avoid the double taxation, which is like the good part of a partnership. So that's an advantage. It's created under a state statute. You have to require a submission of a certificate of limited partnership. It's weird because you have to have a general partner. Okay, so the general partner is the one who manages, and I guess you could have multiple general partners, but you have to have at least one general partner and one limited partner. The general partner, they manage it. They're the ones who can see the books. They decide the direction of the company. The limited partner is an investor only. They cannot see the books. They cannot say you have to do this. And because of that, because limited partners, they like are shielded for how much they can see the company, they get limited liability.
Right.
The general partner, on the other hand, it's like a traditional partnership. They get stuck with unlimited liability. So the two classes have two different sets of liability. Um, and then on a side note, if a limited partnership dissolves, creditors get paid first, and then the limited partner. Then last, the general partner does. Okay.
Okay.
So I got some true or false questions. True or false, a limited partner may see the books and discuss management.
False.
Good job. A general partner has limited liability.
False.
Good job. A certificate of limited partnership is like filing to start a corporation.
True.
Good job. A general partner does not owe limited partner a fiduciary duty.
Does not own limited partner. I feel like that's false.
Right. They do owe them a fiduciary duty. Okay. So closely held corporations, and you got to remember this, regardless of what they're called, this is a corporation. Okay. It's a corporation. It's a corporation. It's a corporation. It's a corporation. What does that mean? It's going to offer all the benefits of a corporation. Limited liability. You're also going to hit with double taxation, which is not a benefit. Oh, Brady just texted me. Um, Let me send him an invite.
Okay.
Okay, just send him an invite. I'm gonna wait just
Okay.
1 second. And my slide changed. What time is your next class or your first class today?
At 10:40.
Okay, cool. This one shouldn't take too long. We're almost halfway done, and the second half breezes through.
Yeah.
Um, any questions while we wait for this last minute or so?
Isn't there a different type of corporation? Like, I know there's S corporations and there's like another corporation. I can't
Well,
remember.
professional corporation.
Oh yeah. Okay. 'Cause I know there was like one that is it called like P corporations, or am I just thinking of something else? Because isn't there one else that has like a oh, it's C corporations. That's what I'm getting confused with.
A C corporation?
I think so. I mean, I honestly, I'm just probably going crazy. I just remember there was like another one that had like just one letter, but I don't remember what it's called.
There's the S corporation, and then there's the professional corporation.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe I was.
looking in the notes. I don't see anything else.
Yeah, no, I would think I was just thinking like back to high school. I just thought there was another one, but maybe it was just me.
Okay. Um,
I don't remember us talking about professional corporations in high school.
yeah, they're a little bit weird because
Yeah,
they provide. I mean, like they're only for professionals, which is kind of interesting. And like I don't think they're. I think they're more popular than they should be.
right.
Like if and when if I ever start my own firm as a lawyer, I wouldn't set up a professional corporation.
Right.
I think that there like there's a I think there's a couple better options.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because like now I'm forgetting.
Like I know like don't accountants usually kind of go towards the professional corporations? I mean, not all of them, but just
Yeah, I think a lot of like smaller accountants do.
yeah,
Uh, okay, and these take a little bit longer than I thought, so I'll just keep bumping through. Okay, questions. Yeah, you answered all those. Okay, closely held corporations. So it offers, because it is a corporation, offers limited liability. It has double taxation, unfortunately. It must be formed and registered and formed like a corporation, and it must follow all the corporate responsibilities. And why do you think it has all four of these? I know that's an abstract question.
yeah. I don't know because I feel like this corporation's very like isn't it because it's a very small corporation like only a certain amount of they have a certain amount of members.
I should rephrase the question. So all of these four things are the exact same as a corporation, yet this is a closely held corporation.
Oh,
So why are these four things match up like a corporation?
can you say that again?
Yeah, so I just read through these four elements:
Right. Yes.
limited liability, double taxation, and then the other two. They're all the same as a corporation. Why do you think that is?
Because it is a corporation.
You got it.
That
Brittany
was-
got it. I was just waiting for you to get there. Not that it's a big point, but I was just like,
Right.
you get it. She's going to get it. I knew it. Okay. The key difference is a closely held corporation is not publicly traded. Okay. It could even be ran like a partnership or sole proprietorship, but it's done this way to limit liability. So this
Right.
this is a really good option. I think Chick-fil-A is a closely held corporation
That
uh,
makes.
because they're not publicly traded. Um,
Oh, you're right.
I'm trying to think. I think I remember. I think you ended up telling us that. Okay, so S corporations, and this is what you're thinking about this. So this is a variety of a closely held corporation, which means it actually is a corporation, but it has very strict requirements. It must be a domestic corporation. So it can't be um, like Mercedes-Benz, because Mercedes-Benz is factored, it's in Germany. Now there is a Mercedes-Benz United States, so maybe that counts. But it must be a domestic corporation organized under a state law, just like any other corporation. The shareholders must be individuals. What does that mean? Shareholders must be individuals.
Shares must be individuals. Well, I guess I'm just looking at number 5, and maybe that's playing into factor. Like they have to be like a resident here, but I mean I could be wrong.
What it means is another corporation can't own shares of an S corp.
Oh, okay, yes. Oh, okay, okay.
And you can have no more than 100 members,
Right.
and all members must agree on the S corp status. You can only have one class of shareholders, and shareholders must not be non-resident aliens. So what that means is if you are if you are Chinese and you live in China, you cannot be a shareholder.
Right.
But if you are born in America and you lived in China, you could still be a shareholder because you would
Oh,
be resident non like you wouldn't be a non-resident alien. I don't know what you would be, but you wouldn't be a non-resident alien. Okay. Um, so S corps continued. Why would you want an S corporation? Okay. So it's taxed like a partnership, which means it avoids double taxation. You have limited liability, like a corporation. Okay. Taxation, no double taxation. Shareholders pay personal income taxes on their earnings, and the S corporation pays no taxes. Why is it not more popular? So just LLCs are better. They're easier to operate. This one still has the regulations of a corporation.
right.
I think S corporations are really weird because it is a corporation, so why not pay double taxation? And I guess it's just because there's strict requirements, but this one really bothers me. Okay. Last one of the miscellaneous is a professional corporation. It's a closely held corporation that's reserved for a few parties: doctors, lawyers, dentists, accountants. It provides limited liability for shareholders. It does not protect others from professional malpractice by the shareholder or by other shareholders, but does limit liability due to tortious conduct or contractual breaches. Here's an example. If I'm an attorney and I have a law firm and there's another attorney in my law firm, I think Brady just stopped in.
Yeah, he did it.
Okay, awesome. So if I'm a lawyer in a law firm and I have another lawyer in the same law firm and he commits malpractice, let's say he sleeps with the client and he gets sued and he owes the client like $50,000. I'm also liable for that amount.
Okay.
Now, if he gets in a contract with the client and says I will represent you, I'll show up on these dates, and then doesn't, that's a contractual obligation. I wouldn't be liable for that.
Okay.
So these are limited liability entities. So these are not the three basic ones, the miscellaneous forms. These are there's two of these, and these are the big ones that I think are really, really common today. So just some highlights of them before we dive in further. A limited liability company, they started in Germany. And why would you want a limited liability company? It's limited liability, like the name says, and there's no double taxation. It has the positive parts of a corporation and a partnership. They are incredibly easy to operate. There's low registration costs, and you don't have the record keeping requirements that a corporation does.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, how are you doing, Brady?
Doing good. Hey, I'm so sorry, Jacob.
No,
I had some family stuff come up this morning, and then on top of that, my computer is slow as crap.
You were
So
totally fine. Don't even worry about it. We were just worried, you went to the Dixie Chicken and stayed out a little too late last night. But
no, I was right here taking down some notes for for this tutoring session. But
no
no,
problem.
here I am now. So okay.
So we just started limited liability entities. This is like the last section of the entities. Did you hear what I just said about the LLCs? Did you catch that?
Right. Talking about essentially how they began in Germany.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So that was the intro slide over it. Okay, and then a limited liability partnership. Texas was the first state for the entity, mostly used by professionals, similar to like a professional corporation. They're still regulated under state laws. Why would you want an LLP? So all partners have limited liability, like I said, similar to a professional corporation, but here all partners have limited liability, and it also avoids double taxation. So we're going to dive into LLCs a little bit more closely. So creation, you have to file articles of organization with the state official. In Texas, these are articles of formation. Then the LLC is issued a certificate of organization. That's the birth certificate, okay? That says who the daddy or mommy is. The structure, the owners in this are called managers. It's like in the NBA, the owners are called governors, but so owners are managers here, and you can have as many as you want. All the members, also known as owners, they have to enter in an operating agreement, and in Texas, it's called the company regulations. What do the company regulations do? They manage the internal affairs of the LLC, and they list the relations of members and managers. And the company regulations can only be amended with the consent of all LLC members. So the governance of the LLC is split into two selections, okay? There's the manager managed, which sounds kind of silly, manager managed, but some members select officers to run the company. Members are like the board of directors, and don't call them this. Like if you see something like, I'm just trying to create like an understanding. So the members in this case are like the board of directors. They're in charge of the officers or the managers, but they don't have day-to-day operations. And then the managers are like the corporate officers. Like I said, don't necessarily call them that. It's just conceptual ways to or conceptualize what I'm talking about. So that's the first option. The second option is called member managed, and it's just like it sounds. In this case, the owners are managing the day-to-day operations, and then each member gets a vote, and each member is an agent for a company. So that's almost like a partnership approach, because like if you had a partnership, each partner, unless put out differently in the partnership agreement, would have one vote. So I have some 4 questions. I'll let you get started, Brady. And if you don't get this one right, it's okay, because even I miss free throws too. So I didn't even read this question when I wrote it. What 7 elements must the articles of formation contain? And if you can just get a couple of them, that's fine. I can help you if you get the rest. And like I said, it's totally cool. Like you can just even take guesses.
What 7 elements must the articles of formation contain?
Yeah, so like when you're submitting, I'll go back to see what I'm talking about. So like when you're submitting, you're applying to get your LLC, you have to have articles of formation submitted to a state official. What has to be in those articles of formation?
I'm just kind of guessing something basic here. I guess one, you need the name of the members.
That's right. Okay.
Since it is limited liability company, I'm assuming you need to list down the duration of the company.
You're on fire so far.
But for once, if I am. Let's see.
Do you want to take a crack at one, Marilyn, while he thinks?
I know, I'm trying to think of them too, because I know it was the name, duration.
Well, so just to clarify, he said name of like the part, like the owners, but then you said name of the LLC. So I'm counting that one. That's 3.
Okay.
I'll just cut in and give you the last 3 to 4. So you have to have the purpose of it.
Yes.
You have to have the address of a registered agent, so maybe an attorney. That's the one that's doing the paperwork, or the person who will take incoming paperwork for the business. You you have to have and this is what you said, Brady, but I'm just going to expand on it. So you have to have the names of the managers, of the owners, and their addresses. If you don't have managers, you have to have a statement saying that. Okay. So just like pretty stuff. I wasn't trying to get you a gotcha question. It's just getting you to think. So Marilyn, question number 2 is going to go right out to you. Can an owner of an LLC be a corporation or another LLC?
I feel like no, he can't.
Well, unfortunately, it's yes. But now we know. Okay, but I just want to take a second to contrast that with an S corporation. Okay, in an S corporation, which offers limited liability and avoids double taxation, one of the shareholders can be another corporation. Okay, or we're now LC. So Brady, this one goes to you. If a member dies or leaves the LLC, is the company dissolved?
If a member dies or the company leaves, is the company dissolved? I guess that would, I'm going to say no, because I would imagine that would depend on, one, how many people are a part of the LLC, and two, and I'm just completely, really just from what I would understand, I would say no. And also, if a member dies, if they were the only person of that company, wouldn't it pass on to like whoever they put it in, like a will or something? I don't know.
So you said a lot of good there, and then you also asked questions. I don't know. So if I take unincorporated business entities, or excuse me, incorporated business entities next semester in law school, I'll follow up and let you know on the passing part. But so prior to like 2006 in Texas, essentially, if a member died, game over, LLC, like boom, it's dissolved. Even if there was 99 other members, or if there was 100 members and one said, "Screw you guys, I'm starting my own skateboard company," boom, dissolved. And that's called a terminating event. And then in 2006, Texas passed a law, and it became active in 2010 that said if a member dies or a member leaves, as long as there's other members still there, it still goes on, which is a result we want. Like as a policy kind of thing, like we don't necessarily want it just to boom blow up and then they have to start a new LLC, get the paperwork. It seems kind of silly, at least to me. So I guess the answer to your question is it depends, but 99% of the time it's going to be no. Like it's not going to be dissolved because Texas passed that law, and most other states did. There was an act where a lot of other states are like, yeah, we want to do this for ourselves. I forgot what it's called. Don't necessarily think it's important, but definitely read it. It's in the LLC chapter, or part of the chapter. I'll circle back to you, Brady, since you got here and you didn't get to answer a lot of the other ones. Can a manager be another LLC? So I asked, can an owner, like can a member or an owner of the LLC be another corporation or an LLC? Now I'm asking, can a manager be another LLC or corporation?
Can a manager be another LLC? No.
So it's actually going to be yes.
Dang.
And that's why we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, a manager doesn't even have to be a legal person. Okay. So, Coca-Cola Corporation, they could start another, or, they could start their own LLC. In that case, they would be the member of the LLC, or someone else could start an LLC and say, "Hey, Coke, will you come run my LLC?" In that case, Coke would be the manager. So not too bad. So we're going to talk about dissolution more in, I guess, detail. So there's 5 ways to get your LLC dissolved. 1, if the company regulations, remember that's what you file. There's that articles of formation, and then you have to get company regulations, and that's saying like how the company's going to operate, also known as an operating agreement, but it's company regulations in Texas. So if your company regulations say, Jacob's Ice Cream Shop LLC is going to expire in 25 years on, the 25th day 1 of the 25th year, it's dissolved. Number 2, if there's specified events or in the operating agreement or company regulations, let's just say I said if a asteroid comes down and blows up the White House, then it's this is this dissolved, then your LLC is dissolved. Number three, the members agree to dissolution. Obviously, that would work. Number four, the LLC has no members. That's kind of like what you asked, which makes me think it probably wouldn't pass down. So let's just say there's two members. They both die in a horrific, helicopter crash. Maybe it's Kobe Bryant and I guess his daughter in this case. And they both die. Rest in peace, Kobe. But they both die. LLC, it's over. Number five, the court dissolves the company. So let's just say you've committed so much fraud with this LLC. The court then would just say, it's over. We're going to dissolve you. And that has happened before. If you dissolve it under your own volitions, like the fixed period or the specified events or the members agree to it, you have to file articles of dissolution. And probably if he asks you a question, it's going to be like, do you have to file articles of dissolution when dissolving your LLC? And you would answer yes. But if the court dissolves your LLC or there's no members left in that case, you wouldn't need to. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay, because one, there'd be no one to file it, and two, the court already dissolved you. So true or false, Maryland, some businesses cannot be LLCs and some businesses cannot be LLCs under state law in some states. And I know that's a super vague question, but true or false?
It's true, because I feel like I heard something like that.
It is true. So like a joint operating venture, some tax firms you can't. Like I said, super weird question, I know. Brady, when a LLC dissolves with debts, members still get paid first because of the doctrine of limited liability. True or false?
I want to say false.
That is true because limited liability has pretty much nothing to do with it. So if a LLC dissolves and it still has outstanding debts, debtors are going to get paid first, and then the owners. Okay. So your limited liability in this case has really nothing to do with it. Maryland, LLCs do not have a formal timekeeping requirement. True or false?
I feel like it's true, because can't you put on like the duration, like a certain word, so they can know that it can last for
that's like perpetuality and perpetual. But what I was thinking is, and the answer is true, like you said, but not for the reason you said. So it's indeed true. And in corporations, you have to like keep track of the meetings. You have to report minutes. And this is an LLC. It's not a corporation, and it doesn't have the specific timekeeping requirements.
Right. Yes.
So I'm going to count you half right. Last slide, limited liability partnerships. So limited liability partnerships contains all the advantages of a partnership. So that's great. Ease of operation, no double taxation. It sucks because you have to re-register it every year, and each partner has to pay an annual fee. And the partnership is required to have insurance. And it's usually put in separate funds, and that usually, like if they have the policy on themselves saying whatever happens, we'll just pay it instead of getting an outside firm to insure them, they usually have to set 7 figures aside.
You have to you have to re-register LLP with the state every year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. All partners can manage, unlike a limited partnership. And then all partners have limited liability, unlike in a limited partnership. And you weren't here when we touched on this. And if you still have time, well, do you have time, Brady? Because I can always kind of run you back to the end.
Yeah. I've got time. I pretty much got time until like 10:20.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can run you back to the beginning. So partnerships are kind of tricky. So I tried to do a diagram, and when I did it, it looked good, where it looked like it made more sense, but it doesn't look like it's making that much sense now. How do I do this? Okay, cool. Laser pointing. Okay, so there's a partnership, then it goes limited partnerships, and then it goes limited liability partnerships. There's multiple differences between them. So why don't you, Brady, do you want to give me a difference between like a partnership and a limited partnership?
Obviously, one with a limited partnership, there is some aspect of limited liability, not for all partners, though. Is that true?
That is 100%. So that's the one where it's
Okay.
broken down into two classes: the general partner, and you have to have one of each, a general and a limited. But the general partner has full, unlimited. If you run over someone's cat, they're going to go after your house liability. And then the limited partner, they can't regulate it. They can't even see the books. They can't tell them how to steer the ship. They have limited liability. They're just an investor.
Yeah.
Okay, Marilyn, do you want to give me a difference between them? Can you think of one? If not, I'll let you do limited partnership versus limited liability partnerships.
Um, so you're asking what's the difference between partnership and limited liability?
Between limited partnerships, yes.
Okay. Oh, limited. Okay. So I think like I can't remember. Isn't it partnership? What's it called? Don't you have in partnership? Don't you have unlimited partnership liability?
Yes.
Okay. So isn't that a difference? Because limited, you don't have your only limited liability, and while in a partnership, you're unlimited liability.
So in a limited partnership, remember that's the one where it's the general partner and the limited partner. So in a limited partnership, the general partner has unlimited liability and the limited partner has limited liability. Um, and that's different than the limited liability partnerships. But because there's like three different partnerships, and so that's why I'm trying to come up with a way to distinguish them. Another thing is the limited partnerships and the limited liability partnerships are, you have to register with the state, and they're created by state statute. A partnership, you don't have to register with the state. Now, maybe to get permits and licenses, you might, but like to actually form it, like Brady, we could say, hey man, do you want to make a partnership to sell ice cream? And obviously I'm going to revoke that offer, but we could form a partnership right now, and you could hop in this one too, Maryland. But we just like hypothetically we could just form a partnership right now, but we couldn't form a limited partnership or a limited liability partnership like right now. We'd have to take steps. So that's kind of the biggest difference between a basic partnership and the other two. And a difference between the limited partnerships and the limited liability partnerships is in the limited partnerships, it's the two classes. The general has unlimited and the limited partner has limited liability. In the limited liability partnerships, they both have limited liability. Okay. But it has even stricter regulations. I always think typically the less liability you have, so when you move from like unlimited liability to limited liability, the more regulations you have to follow and the more steps you have to follow and the more you have to register with the states. Okay, so that kind of
The more that you move from unlimited liability to limited liability, there's more steps and more regulation and steps. Okay.
Yeah, because if you think about it, like a sole proprietorship, that is the riskiest of them all. And you don't have to register at all. You have unlimited liability, and then you can get all the way down to a corporation, which, if you think about it, the corporation, you have, out of all the liability in a corporation, you have kind of the least liability. It's not a point made in this, but like from a conceptual point, like if you're a shareholder in a corporation, let's just say you've invested $10,000 in Apple stock. If Apple gets in a big lawsuit and they owe Joe Buck, the Fox Sports commentator, $100 trillion, you're only liable for your 10,000, and you yourself are probably never going to get sued. But like in an LLC, if you're a member, which means you're an owner, you're going to face more direct heat. Now, yes, you're only going to be liable for what you put in the company, but I'm 100% sure if you really mess up that they're going to try to come after you more aggressively. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Last question.
The more that you actually have invested into it itself, the bigger of a target you'll be.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like Professor Swim says, like, you don't just get sued when you mess up. Like the bigger, fish you become, it's more likely you're going to get sued. So why not just use a professional corporation over an LLP? And this might be a little difficult because we haven't talked about professional corporations yet, Brady. But I'll let you both take a crack at this one. We'll start with Marilyn. So why not use a professional corporation over a limited liability partnership?
Well, the way I think about it is a professional corporation, it just limits you to a certain amount of like people like doctors, accountants, and lawyers. while a LLP is more broader. It doesn't have to be just that certain niche of people. I mean, that's what I'm just thinking.
Yeah. No, I mean, like that's not a bad answer. Do you have anything to add on to that, Brady?
Yeah, so one thing that I can remember in particular as to why you would probably choose an LLP over a corporation, uh, taxation purposes could be one, I believe.
Yeah, I'm looking up. Now that I just mentioned it, I'm like, oh wait, oh, there's my wife's cat. So I'm a dog person, but my wife, when I married her, she had two cats, and I like them, but they're always trying to jump on me. My dog, I have a Labrador Retriever. She tries, but it's a little easier to see it. Um, Now that you said that, I don't see anything in my notes that refers to actually taxation at all professional corporations. So I might have to go back and read. But because it is a corporation, I would assume it has double taxation. Um, so I'll have to look on that.
And again, I was just thinking of that because I remembered that, there are benefits to, even if you are a bigger company, if you can still fit into that limited liability portion, and if everything works out the best for you, then definitely do that from a taxation purpose. That way you just avoid double taxation.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning with you because closely held corporations um, do take double taxation. Okay. But S corporations, which is a variety of a closely held corporation, avoids double taxation. But he doesn't mention that for professional corporations, um, which makes me think they are subject to double taxation. He probably doesn't care as much. But yeah, no, you both articulated good points over um, why an LLP is typically superior to a professional corporation. And I think you could easily make the argument that a LLC is even better than an LLP. I think an LLC, it just keeps getting expanded and becoming even better. Especially because you don't have to re-register it every year, and each partner doesn't have to pay that annual fee. Um, I think if I had a company, or if I was making a partnership, I should say, I think I would probably pick the LLP over the limited partnership, especially if I was running the day-to-day operations, because it would bother me if I was the general partner in a limited partnership that I would have unlimited liability, when just for a little bit more money, I could get limited liability. And that seems like something that would be worth it for me. So that's all I have for the slideshow, Marilyn. And I did end up emailing that, I think, to both of you guys before we started. Do you have any questions for me, Marilyn?
Not right now. I don't think I have any. I got it down pretty good.
Okay, and then you could stay if you want to run through the first half of the slideshow again, Marilyn, but you're more than free to just dip out.
Yeah, I have to go to CGA right now, actually.
Okay, cool. Well, it was
Thank you so
good to see
much.
you.
Bye.
Okay, bye. So how are you doing, Blake? Excuse me, Brady.
Doing good. I just had to talk with some family this morning. They called me, and then I'll be honest, I woke up a little bit later anyways, about the 9 o'clock mark, and I was like, oh, I better take this call. And then again, my computer takes forever to load up. And
Totally.
so,
It
but,
happens. It does. Like, I totally get it.
but yeah, no, I'll just go ahead and kind of let you know what my situation is with this class. I'm very glad that I went ahead and decided to start tutoring, because the first